Good night, dear friends. Doctor, my friend, Dr. Philip Crowley, my best friend from ISQA in Ireland. Thank you for being that you can present about PCCI, PCC in Ireland.
Nice to be here. Thank you, Hani.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar with the topic that's both very relevant and timely. It's about PCC in Ireland. You know that PCC is it's already a trend in the world, and we must learn from everywhere about the progress. And now we are learning from my dear colleague, Dr. Philip Crowley, who's been a board member of ISQA for several times. And we are going to hear about that. Before we begin, I like to extend my gratitude to everybody who's joined us from around the world. Yeah, also from our colleague from Turkey and from ASQA. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Philip Crowley, a renowned expert from Dublin, Ireland, as our keynote speaker. Dr. Crowley will share his vast knowledge and experience in patient-centered care in Ireland. Without further ado, I invite Dr. Crowley to kick off his presentation. Before we will start with the opening speech from our head executive of CARS. Please, Dr. Sutoto.
Distinguished speaker, respected moderator, and esteemed participant, good evening. On behalf of the Indonesian Commission on Accreditation of Hospital, CARS, it is both of privilege and a great honor to welcome you to the 5th International PCCI webinar organized by collaboration with the Patient Centered Care Institute and the Asian Society for Quality in Healthcare, ASQA. Before anything else, allow me to convey our deepest appreciation and warmest gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Philip Crowley, National Director for Wellbeing, Equality, Climate, and Global Health Strategy at the Health Service Executive of Ireland. Dr. Crowley leadership and long-standing commitment to advancing well-being, equity, and patient-centered healthcare have inspired many healthcare systems around the world. We are truly honored that he has graciously shared his time, expertise, and valuable insight with us this evening. His presence elevates this forum and enriches our collective learning. Ladies and gentlemen, patient-centered care is not merely a framework or a set of standards. It is the very heart of quality healthcare. When patient and family are genuinely placed at the center, healthcare system become safer, more human, and more sustainable. Through today's discussion, we are privileged to learn from Ireland experience how patient-centered value are translated into national strategies, organizational culture, and daily clinical healthcare practice. These lessons are particularly meaningful for us in Indonesia as we continue our healthcare transformation journey. CARS believe that international knowledge exchange, such as this webinar, is essential to building a stronger culture of patient-centered care. one that is not only compliant with standard, but deeply rooted in compassion, dignity, and partnership. I invite all participants to engage actively, reflect deeply, and transform today's insight into meaningful action within your respective organization. Once again, I extend my sincere appreciation to our distinguished speaker, our respected moderator, Dr. Hani Rano, and all participants for your commitment and dedication. I wish you an inspiring and fruitful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Stato. Please, can you put Dr. Philip Crowley CV? Thank you very much. Dr. Philip, can you pin Dr. Philip?
Yep.
Oh, are you? Thank you very much. Thank you for your ability to talk to us. This is my most studious friend in board member in ISQA. Please have your the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hani. Just to say, I can't share the slides on this connection, but if you can share them, great. Otherwise, we can send the slides around afterwards. There's no problem. It's very, very nice to be with you in Indonesia. I've never, Hani is a dear friend of mine for many, many years. We've worked together in ISQA to try and make the organization more effective and more useful for everybody who would like to improve care in their country. And today is, if you like, a kind of a product of that relationship and of that commitment to make care better. And I think you know, I've been a national director in our health service for 15 years in Ireland. Ireland is a country, small country, much smaller than Indonesia, much smaller population. We have a population of about 5.5 million, and we're on the edge of Europe. So we're a very different country to Indonesia. But in the end of the day, we deliver care to our patients that we care about. And it's the same business. We're in the same business, no matter where in the world we are doing it from. I have a kind of a past history in my career of having worked in overseas countries many times. I worked in Pakistan as a medical student. I worked in Nicaragua for 5 years as a doctor. And then I worked in England, and now I've been working in Ireland for the last nearly 30 years. So, but I do run a global health program. So I established that program because I felt in Ireland, we're a small island, and there's no way we can deliver care to our patients, ignoring what goes on in the rest of the world, ignoring what we can learn from Indonesia, for example, and ignoring the fact that what happens in other countries affects the healthcare in our own country as well. So I think that's why we established a global health program, and why we still have a thriving global health program. There's still a lot of work to support countries in with less resources than we have in Ireland. Ireland, as I say, is a small country, but one that we've certain pride in what we do, and part of what we do, I think, is pretty good. One thing I'd like to say, though, about our population is an interesting, just about the history of our country. In 1841, we had a population of 6.5 million. And in 1891, that's 50 years later, we had a population that less than half of that. So we have had a kind of a turbulent history where we lost half of our population. The reason for that was we had a famine. We were colonized at the time. A lot of people migrated. So there's a lot of international news about migration, but migration has been an important safety valve for Ireland. And I hope that we maintain a progressive approach to people who need to migrate for different reasons. So a lot of our people migrated to North America and to England because we could not support them in Ireland because of a giant potato famine. So we have an interesting history that I think makes us have a lot in common with a lot of other countries, maybe more so than other countries in Europe, potentially. Our current population is over 5 million, approaching 5.5 million. About 600,000 of them have come into the country from other countries, and they help run many important industries in our country. We used to be a very Catholic country. Oh, great. So that you're sharing my slides. That's fabulous. Thank you so much. So we go on to the next slide then, please. Thank you so much. Yeah, and this shows, I think, that we far more we've a more secular, less religious country than we used to have, but still we would largely be Roman Catholic, I guess, in our kind of culture, but not active churchgoers to the extent that we used to have. So we go on to the next slide. That would be great. Just the next slide tells us a little bit about Ireland's health service. Ireland's Health Service, just back up again, sorry, we've moved on a little bit. Yeah, perfect. We have certain things going for us in Ireland, I think. We have the highest self-perceived health status. That means you're asked, how do you rate your own health? Is it good? Is it very good? Is it terrible? Are you in poor health? And 80% of our population say our health is very good or good. So that's a positive sign of our health care system, I think. We have slightly lower chronic illness averages than the rest of Europe. We're around 30%. But however, as in many countries, in the poorer parts of the country with less economic strength, the health levels are poorer as well. So health is very strongly related to the economic well-being of the local community. Our life expectancy is 84 years for women and 81 for men, and that has steadily improved over the last number of years. We have free primary care for those who need it in terms of economic need, but hospital care is free for everybody. But still, nearly 50% of people take out private health insurance because it allows them to ensure they get access to hospital service when they are heavily in demand and there are waiting lists for hospital service. So we go on to the next slide then. These are people I'd like to thank who gave me input into this presentation. Helen Crispin, Gail Neeson, and Anna Farley, who's our patient representative on the board of ISQA, and Iolo Elian, who heads up our patient-centred care programme in Ireland. So I got some facts and figures from them. If we go on to the next slide, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about person-centered care, but we're going to talk about it from the point of view of the individual patient and their family, but also from the point of view of getting them involved in more than their own care. So this shows, I think, the shift in disease profiles in lower middle income countries now in male and females. Is the causes of death are now largely chronic disease. Obviously, historically, it was more infectious disease, but chronic disease is now an issue in all of our countries. And these are people who live with an illness all the week, all the year, all the day. We only see them once or twice a year, and they live with their illness all the year and all of their life. So these are people who really we should be involving in their own care. We should be having a person-centered care approach for people with chronic illness. So if we go on to the next slide, what I suppose it tries to describe is what are the components of a high-quality health service from our perspective. Obviously, you want it to be effective clinically. You want it to deliver care safely. You want it to be on time, so people don't have to wait too long to get looked after. It needs to be effective and efficient. It needs to be equitable. It needs to be fair. So, in other words, people who come from poorer communities should get the same care as people who drive a car and have a big house. So, but finally, I think a key component of quality healthcare is one that is truly centered on the patient or on the person. So if we go on to the next slide, it kind of describes what do we mean by person-centered care, because it's a phrase that could be used by lots of different people in different ways. So I think the Health Foundation have usefully come up with a definition that I think is defined by 4 principles. Person-centered care, and we know when we're delivering it and we know when we're receiving it, because it's one that affords people dignity, compassion, respect. It offers coordinated care between hospitals and communities. It offers personalized care and support to the person, because the person may have different needs to the other person who has the same disease. And it supports people to recognize and develop their own strengths and abilities to live an independent life. So, in other words, some patients come in and they have because of their chronic disease, they have significant problems in leading an independent life. Whereas other people, if we help them, they can live a completely independent life with a bit of support from us and with a lot of support from themselves. So, moving on to the next slide, I guess what it really means is a new relationship with our patients. And many of you may already be practicing this type of care, but it means something to someone. It means care that means something. It's a new approach which swaps asking people, what is the matter with you, to what matters to you. So, in other words, it acknowledges that we need to treat the disease that a person has, but we also need to understand what elements of that disease is affecting the person's life or affecting their well-being, because it's different for different individuals. So it's more individualized care because individuals have different relationships with their own illness. So moving on to the next slide, we demonstrate the degree to which it's an evolution. It moves from doing things to patients to doing things for patients. Then it means doing things with patients. That's really partnership with patients. And finally, doing things with patients and their families, because families care for them a lot. And if we involve their families, we can involve them in a way that makes the family's role more effective in supporting the individual, and therefore makes the individual more effective in engaging with life and leading a full and independent life. So the next slide just is a little vignettes. Just if you flick through, it's an active slide. So there's 3 things to progress down through. Doing things to me is the first thing, which means, taking blood tests or sticking needles in people. Doing things for me, which is more like physiotherapy, helping people move around, making people mobile, hand washing. And then do things with me and my family, which is more about taking time to calmly ask what is wrong, what is bothering the patient, and learning about the individual. Asking me as a patient, what do I need? And asking my family members, sharing facts. So it really sharing information, democratizing the care. So as people understand their illness better and they're better able to participate and actively manage their own illness because they live with it all the time. And always updating the care plan for the individual with me and my family. So taking into consideration my view of what's important in my care. So moving on to the next slide then, there are ways that we can support this kind of self-management. Because otherwise, the traditional way would be patients would come in with diabetes or heart disease or whatever, some chronic illness, and we would prescribe some medication for them, and they would go off and they would maybe get worse. They would maybe come to see the doctor again because they don't know how to deal with a particular complication. Whereas this is really educating people to understand their own illness better. So it's an act of collaboration to determine the important outcomes for the individual. So what do they want to achieve? Like somebody who's a marathon runner and somebody who largely stays at home will have different goals in life in relation to maybe getting back to things that they used to do. So it's understanding that about the individual and individualizing their care, supporting to help people build their own knowledge and skills and confidence so as they can manage their diabetes, so they can check their own blood sugar and they can increase their insulin if they need insulin or change their medication or come in and see us when it's appropriate rather than when they're just confused. So really make sure that people are properly informed. And then enabling indeed an access to broad support from healthcare and other services. So that might be community services as well. So Okay. Now, next slide, please. So why is support for self-management important? Well, people with long-term conditions can have better quality of life if they are involved in their self-management. The conditions can be better managed because they're involved themselves in managing them, and they can get better outcomes as a result of that. Services can be delivered in a more joined up and cost-effective way. And clinical appointments and care conversations can be more meaningful, leading to higher work satisfaction for us as care professionals, because we feel we're doing a better job because the patient and the service user who comes in to see us feels better as a result of our interaction with them, and they're better informed and they're better able to participate in conversations with us. So that makes us feel better as well. So it leads to job satisfaction, I believe. So the next slide then seeks to show, I guess, the different types of supports that can lead to better self-management. Things like people monitoring their own illness through looking at their blood glucose and things like that, educating patients in groups about their illness, motivationally interviewing people so as they feel motivated to look after themselves, coaching them over the telephone, setting goals with them, setting joint care plans with them, giving them their own records, and doing courses for them and giving electronic information for them. And that's something that we've been doing here in Ireland, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So the next slide then is really what's the evidence here? What's the evidence on the outcomes and the benefits for patients? Well, the evidence is mixed, if I'm being honest, if you look at the research literature overall, but it definitely does lead to improving people's attitudes and behaviors towards their own illness. It improves their quality of life. It improves the clinical symptoms that they manage better, so they have less symptoms. But I think the thing to remember is, and this is a statistic I quite like, I must admit, is that in a given year, there are 25,600 minutes. That's the number of minutes there are in a year. And that's the number of minutes that an individual lives with their condition. And as a consultant or a family doctor, you might see them for 20 minutes in that year. That's only 1/26,000th of the time that they're living with their own illness. They're living with their own illness for 525,580 minutes, and we see them for 20 minutes. So they're living with their condition all the time, and we're looking after them for 20 minutes of that year. So I think we need to understand that, and that needs to inform why we need to be responsive to the patient's own role in managing their condition. So if we look at the next slide, then it looks at two different diseases. So diabetes, you'd be educating somebody on measuring their blood sugar. You'd be educating them on knowing the right level of blood sugar that they want to achieve, being wary of low blood sugar, and also managing high blood sugar. You might be giving them technical support in using a pump that delivers insulin to them if they have an insulin pump, and you'd be giving them dietary advice as they manage their own diet. Whereas a chronic pain, it'd be quite different. You'd be helping them cope with pain in a different way, using behavioral interventions and relaxation techniques. And all of this would be on top of, obviously, the pain relief and general medical treatment that you would be prescribing for both these patients. So it just shows the kind of things that people can get involved in themselves. And their needs may differ at different stages of their illness. When they're just diagnosed, they have a big need to understand better their condition. But when they're steady state, then they need to better understand how to manage it. And then when you put them on a new treatment, then they need to understand the treatment that you put them on, the potential side effects, and understand how to manage those. So we go on to the next slide then. The evidence at the system level. So what in a healthcare system like the one that I have been helping manage in Ireland, I help manage the national healthcare system. What does person-centered care and patient-centered care deliver to a healthcare system? How would I know that it's being effective? Well, it can lead to more effective use of healthcare resources because people come in only when they need to be seen. So we do fewer random visits to hospitals with kind of complications of disease. And we learn really that implementing one-off interventions won't have a significant impact on the overall health of the population or on sustainability. So it isn't a one-off intervention. It's a different way of delivering care. So what's likely to work best is a wide and multifaceted initiative that involves educating practitioners, applying best evidence and using technology, decision aids for patients, and involving community partnerships. That means partnerships with community organizations that help organise, like for example, in Ireland, we have an asthma society, we have an Irish diabetes society, we have a heart foundation. So these are all organisations that we can partner with to help support patients, because they in turn support patients directly themselves. So in the next slide then, I suppose I asked the question, in our healthcare system, does this really matter to do our clinicians and our healthcare systems really think a lot about this? Do they really think about who's best able to help the patient? It mightn't be me. Do they think about what gives people resilience when they are ill? Or what is the purpose of healthcare really? And what enables people to manage their problems short and long term? And the true answer to that is often clinicians and systems don't think about this because we're under pressure. People are trying to, many people are trying to access our services, then we don't necessarily have all the resources we need to deliver the care. So in that pressurized situation, we may not always think about these questions. And if we do think about these questions, we deliver more effective care, where we will manage the demand in a way that ensures that people have better access to our health services as well. So paradoxically, we would deal with the problem that creates a distraction for us better if we practice person-centered care. So the next slide looks at barriers and enablers, and really the type of leadership in your healthcare system will determine whether you're delivering person-centered care, because if the leadership cares about it and drives it, then it will happen. And the professional attitudes and approach then are ultimately key determinants. So that's why we engage with professionals delivering care, and we train them in person-centered care, and we explain the value of it, and we involve patients in doing that. Time constraints is a major problem, as I've already referred to. Population characteristics and design sometimes is an effect. Some populations are less informed about their illness than others. The type of training we provide around person-centered care is crucial. And the traditional practice and structures, which I'm sure you have in Indonesia, as we have in Ireland, affect again how we deliver care and whether we practice person-centered care. So in the next slide, then I think we look at really what we're talking about here, which is a cultural shift. So it's not just tools and techniques. It's a different relationship between people living with long-term conditions and the care professionals. It's not just providing clinical care, but it's helping people think about their strengths and abilities in order to themselves develop better clinical outcomes and better health. So identifying the information and support people will need to take control of their own health and well-being. So it's not a simple matter. It's quite a significant shift in how we deliver care. And even if we, as a system, and in your system, you're committed to this, often in individual situations, you will find it's not happening because we haven't managed to put in place what the kind of education for professionals and for patients that will enable it to happen. So looking at the next slide then, what matters to patients in our care? These are kind of questions we might ask. What are you most worried about right now? Is there anything in the instructions we gave you that could be hard for you to do? What matters most to you? Have we missed anything? These are the kind of questions that you ask if you're delivering patient-centered care. So in the next slide, I think what we try to describe is the kind of actions that we can take. So if we move to the next slide, to build will, to generate ideas with staff, to kind of take steps to getting towards person-centered care. So in moving in this direction, we want to ask people, where are we at in our own service? Do we actually involve patients, or is it passive? Do we build understandings through person inclusion in our discussions? So are we engaging the people who use our services to understand better how we're delivering them? And we should start small and build this kind of movement. And we need to ask, are we just telling people and not working in partnership? Or are we giving people information that give them the freedom to choose what kind of care they would like? And are we asking patients and community groups so we change? So if we move on to the next, somebody not on mute, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Are we okay?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we move on to the next slide then. We're getting there. and then we have a discussion. So the kind of tips about getting started: gather 5 people in your team or unit and ask them to share with you examples of engaging with patients and families, and try and get an understanding of their care needs, improving their care delivery, improving their care process. So use real life examples in your own team to understand what people are doing within your own team to practice patient-centered care, and discuss whether these examples are doing to, for, or with patients and families. So in other words, going back to that evolution, hopefully we're moving towards working with patients and families, not doing things to them. So that's at the level of the patient. But then at the level of, say, many of us work to deliver services and to design them and to develop better services for patients. So how would we do that better involving the people who use our services? So this is moving up a level from the individual patient to how will we design services better informed by patients themselves. So this is about the interactive work of users and professionals together to design, create, develop, and deliver, assess, and improve services. So it's working with individuals and populations, mutual respect, informing how we work, developing real partnerships in order to develop better designed services, because they're designed with the people who use them with their information in mind. So looking at the next slide, then, there are certain things that make this difficult. If we have a very paternalistic approach to our patients, and that informs how we deliver services and how we design them, that's going to be an obstacle, I think, to delivering care that's better informed by patients. If we just focus on the transaction of care delivery, illness, treatment, and all of that, then that's going to be an obstacle as well. And if communication tends to be one way and we're not listening, that's a problem. And if we make all the decisions as providers, then that's a problem. But if we develop true partnerships, that'll make co-production more easy. If we get in with patient organizations and chat to them about the services we're providing, if we've developed relationships and have a proper dialogue, and if we share decision making, then we're going to move towards co-design of services and services that are going to be more effective in delivering care. So look at the next slide then. There's evidence all over the literature that shows that involving patients improves patient safety. Their feedback can inform staff of unsafe events that we are unaware of. Surveys can show how we can better deliver care, and patients can tell us how an individual adverse incident affected them and how we can better avoid them. Patients also support redesign services. There's a lot of evidence to show how effective that can be. And patients can help staff to do the right thing. So the next slide really is about an initiative we've supported in Ireland, which is pioneered by a woman called Dr. Kate Granger. She's a family doctor, who developed cancer and saw care from a completely different perspective as a patient than as a caregiver. And she developed this thing called Hello, My Name Is. My Name Is a thing that we put on patients' beds in a hospital, which describes something about the patient, that they support a soccer team, that they like listening to music, that they personal things about the individual patient that I think leads to a more human connection, more therapeutic relationship, and builds trust. So that's an approach to person-centered care that I think I would commend to you. So looking at the next slide then, and the slide then after that, getting into what we're doing in Ireland. So going on to the next slide then again, we have an Irish partnership with patient strategy. It's something that I developed originally maybe as long as 12, 15 years ago. And it has 5 pillars. It's about partnership in individual care, which we've discussed already in theory. It's about partnership for patients and families and communities in designing the services and delivering the services that we deliver. It's about partnership in developing the policies that I would have developed in our Irish Health Service and in their implementation. Also, I headed up research for a long time in Ireland, and we involved patients and service users in every research initiative that we developed. And that led to research that was more likely to be effective in improving the experience of patients in their experience of services improved by the research. And we have also developed structures in which and governance structures, in other words, how we deliver services in which we involve patients and service users. So the next slide then looks at involving patients in their own care. And we have a national lead for patient participation now in our health services, a senior position. He's been helping run this year our fourth national conference on patients as partners. So we run a conference with patient organizations and individual patients, discussing how we can better partner with them. And it's a key part of all training programs and embedded in primary care chronic disease management programs. So we're embedding it in how we deliver services from now on, involving patients in their own services. So the next slide then, and I'm coming near the end now, is moving from patient-centred care to partnership with patients in Ireland. And the national conferences also seek to give patients and service users a voice, a national voice, where they can share best practice and we can share best practice. So as we can influence, sorry, just the previous slide, so as we can influence exactly how best practice is spread around. And it also identifies challenges to doing this work and builds momentum for change. That's what the conferences are all about. So if you move to this slide, yeah, this is a perfect slide. About measuring patient experience. No, leave it on the previous slide. Thanks. We measure patient experience in a whole series of different ways. We do national surveys of patients who are inpatients in hospital. We do surveys of people who access maternity services, who live in nursing homes, who are at the end of life, and that's a difficult survey to do, who experience mental health difficulties, and maternity bereavement, people who lose a child in delivery. And we're developing a survey on cancer care. And the whole point of doing these surveys is to gather patient views on the services they experience and for us to act on what they say to improve that experience. And what we like to see is the inpatients survey demonstrating and the different surveys demonstrating improved service experience as we progress through the different years. So the next slide then, in terms of structures, we deliver healthcare through 6 regions. So there are 6 regional organizations, and they organize 6 regional patient councils, which involve voluntary groups, carers, patients, and HSE staff. So these councils and a national council inform how we deliver care. So it's a real democracy in action, I think. So in terms of the next slide then, we also seek to provide resources for individual patients and service users about how to partner with us. So if we go on to the next slide, we see that we have a partnership online hub. It's the second last slide anyway. We have a partnership online hub. We have accessible resources and updates and news online on the web. We do training programs online for patients, carers, and health professionals. And I guess what I'd recommend to you is to take this topic very seriously, to find patient organizations who are organized themselves and partner with them to get patients more involved in how you make decisions about how to deliver care to them, and to try to operate on an international basis as well and link with patients from other countries. So in closing, I'd just like to say I've always been committed to patient, service user, and community participation in my work that influences service user experience of care. I wrote the original first patient and service user involvement strategy. I helped to establish the Irish Patients for Patient Safety Committee, which is a national committee looking at patient safety and is affiliated to the WHO International Patients for Patient Safety movement. I've led the development of community partnerships in deprived areas to jointly improve the care and health of the local community. And equally, I've had a management team of people delivering the services that I'm responsible for. And we've had 2 patients on that management team from its first day of operation. So we've always had patients involved in the management team. So finally, I believe that partnership with patients, service users, and local communities is the right thing to do. I think it leads to better service delivery and more democratic decision making. Thank you very much for listening, and that's my talk for this morning. Thank you. Or this evening.
Thank you, Philip. It's very, very detailed talks that you have. Maybe you can give us some words to invite people from Cars and Ottawa to go to Dublin for
yes
the meeting. Yes, to visit you.
Good man, Henry. Yes, Hanny, because obviously ISQA run an international conference every year in different parts of the world. And I have to say, I go to lots of different conferences, and I'm involved in the Institute for Healthcare Improvement (BMJ) conference. I help organize that as well. And the ISCO conference, I think, Hanny, you'd agree, is pretty unique in that it's really as a community. It's people who really look out for each other. We develop relationships and friendships at the conference. There's a lot of opportunities to mix and get to know each other, but it's also highly well developed curriculum in order to that we can learn about the latest things in healthcare. And this year, Hanny's absolutely right. In September, it's going to be held in Dublin, in my own capital city. And one thing I would say about Ireland, I think a little bit like Indonesia, it's a very friendly country. We welcome visitors. I think it'll be a very friendly conference. There'll be a lot of good fun at it, and we'll get to know people at it, and we learn an awful lot about how to deliver healthcare better. And if you go onto the ISCO website, there's a whole load of information about the conference, and I'll be helping to organise it this year. And I think it'll be a great conference, and we've a record number of submissions for abstracts for presentation at it. So it's going to be a very lively conference and going to be good fun. I'd recommend it to you. Thank you, Hanny, for reminding me to do that.
Yes, yes. We're using euro, not pounds. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can
No,
I ask?
we're
Yeah. Can I ask you some questions, some basic questions? You said
sure.
that the hospital is free in Ireland.
Yes.
Do you have insurance? What do you call it?
Private
Universal
health
coverage.
insurance. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing, Hanny. You would imagine, because our health hospital system is free to everybody, that people wouldn't need to spend the money on private health insurance, but they still do. And the reason that about 40% of people take out private health insurance is because if you go to a private hospital, you get seen more quickly. And because it's there's less demand. Obviously, in the poorer part of the population, the demand is greater, and our public hospital system has people waiting in the emergency department to be seen, and people on waiting lists to see specialists like yourself in the outpatients. So people take out private health insurance to try and get a quicker access, which is a pity. It's a sign that our public system doesn't have enough capacity to meet the need that it currently presents to it. So yes, we have private health insurance as well.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is, how many years have you been freedom from England? What's the year?
And it was in 1920.
1920, yeah. So it's older than us because we are in 1945. Yeah.
And Hanny, that's an interesting question, because obviously when you and I link with, say, other countries that have a history of colonizing other countries, you and I have a history of being colonized, which is a different history and makes us a bit different. Makes us think differently, I think, and maybe gives us a stronger sense of solidarity with other countries.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Sutoto, maybe you have some questions. Dr. Sutoto is outside. Okay.
Hello, honey. I just to say hello to
Dr. Johnny. Hello, please.
Hi, Phillips. I'm sorry I was late because I was stuck in the road. Okay. How are you, Phillips?
Good to see Dr. Johnny. Dr. Johnny is my other very, very good friend from Indonesia. I have many friends, but my best friends are Hanny and Johnny.
Yes, of course.
Because the three of us worked together on the board of ISQA for many years. Great relationship. So I'm very good, Johnny, and I'm really loving interacting and meeting, albeit virtually, with your colleagues from Indonesia. It's very, very nice for me.
Okay. Yes, hopefully we can meet again in the future.
We shall, for sure.
Yes.
Dr. Johnny is in the is in EAR
Council,
uh,
accreditation council now. Now become a member of accreditation council. Yes.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe we can go. I hope many listeners here is willing to go to Dublin. Maybe, yeah. We make, an
Yeah,
Hopefully.
because
effort.
Hopefully.
because the great thing you can do, Hani, as you know, is if a group come from a country like say for Indonesia, and I've met many of the fellows, fantastic number of fellows in Indonesia, ISCO fellows. If they come together, they can meet together, obviously in Dublin, and we can organize a time slot during the conference where the Indonesian community can meet and reflect on the conference and see what people have learned and see what people will bring back to Indonesia. And certainly, when I've gone to conferences from Ireland, we've done that as well. So that can be a good thing to do also.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
very much for your help. And maybe we can see the beautiful beaches, the beautiful cliffs of Ireland.
Yeah.
I go with
Oh,
Johnny.
yes. Well, the other thing I have to tell everybody is that when Hanny and Johnny come to Dublin, because some of our board meetings are in Dublin, unlike some of the other people, they actually make it an attempt to see some of the country. Because some people come in, you know the way you travel somewhere, you go to a meeting, you get on the plane, you go straight back out to the airport, you get on the plane. That's a tragedy because you're in a beautiful country like Indonesia or Ireland, and Hanny and Johnny have seen some of Ireland, and it is a beautiful country.
Yes.
So if you do come to Ireland, take some extra days and see some of, and we will give advice on where to go, like the cliffs of Moher, and places that they have been to, beautiful places.
Yes. When I my last visit to Ireland, I saw Moher
Yeah.
Cliff and Belfast and Belfast.
I know you did that. I know, and Belfast is in the north of the country, and it has a different history as well. So it's a very interesting place to go to. Yeah.
Yes.
The ship factory, the biggest ship that sinks.
Yes,
Titanic was built in Ireland.
I know. Well, it's nice of you to remind us of that, Hanny. That the most famous ship we ever built sank, so that doesn't make it sound like it's a very good shipbuilding place. But yes, the Titanic was built in Ireland, and there's a very interesting Titanic Centre in Belfast about the history of the Titanic and what actually happened. And it's a fascinating museum to go to. But yes, we did build the Titanic, and it did sink on its first voyage. It's an iceberg.
Yeah.
It's an iceberg.
Yeah,
Yes.
Philip, there are so many questions here in the chat.
In chat room. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe Johnny, you can read it.
I can't read the chat room. I don't think. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yes,
I Doctor from Rina, she's a nurse, Rina Vijayanti Sagita. To Dr. Philip, how about research in hospitals, especially doctors or nurse in Ireland? Is hospital supporting, and is the research can apply to the care of the patients? Thank you. She's from Klaten, from Java.
That's a really, really good question, because obviously often the situation is that hospitals don't support research, or that it doesn't really influence what you're doing in the hospital. In Ireland, yes, I think we are trying. We're getting better at supporting research. We understand its value. I manage the research program nationally for a number of years, and we have a person leading on research in the hospital, and we have a person leading on research in the regions and nationally. So we're trying to drive research as a way of making care better, but also involving patients in that research. So as the research is relevant to the people who use our services as well as to the people who deliver them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next is Dr. Mirta Virdia. Dr. Mirta is speaking English very good. Maybe you are going to ask directly, not from the chat. Dr. Mirta, please pin Dr. Mirta Barka. Tolong dipin. Dr. Mirta Vidya. Dr. Mirta Vidya, can you pin? Hello, Philip. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. I strongly agree that patient here is Mirta Vidya. Please, can you ask yourself directly?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Phillips. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. I strongly agree that patients should be treated individually. So my question is, what happens when there are many patients and shortage of nurses and doctors? How do you overcome this challenge? So the next question is, how long did it take you to build the PCC so that it runs as it should be? I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mirta. Very good question. The truth is, we have not successfully learned how to manage the demand, the significant, huge number of patients that we have with the smallish number of doctors and nurses that we have. Same as you describe, we have a similar problem. So part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop services in the community so as the hospital is less under pressure. So we're working with doctors out in the community and nurses in the community to deliver care that is effective at managing long-term conditions like diabetes and heart disease. And therefore, those patients, over time, it'll take a little time, but we're already seeing some impact of it, will need hospitals less. So we're trying to manage care across community and hospital, and we're integrating the care better. But we need more doctors and nurses, no more than yourselves. So that's true. And your second question was, I can't remember the second question. I think it was
how long that you take the time to make the PCC work as it should be?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question too, because as I suggested in the talk, in truth, all of our people are focused on urgent things that are an emergency. And therefore, they don't think about why they're in this emergency. And part of why they're in the emergency is because they haven't engaged patients and they haven't looked after chronic illness in a way that stops it coming into hospital all the time, creating the emergency in the. So we've been developing a lot of educational material for doctors and for managers to understand the value of partnering with patients. We've been doing it, Mirta, for a long time. So I think at this stage, we're pretty long down the road. I'd say we've been doing it, I guess, for 10 years, maybe longer. Maybe it takes that long to change the culture, to convince everybody, to educate the patients and get them properly up to speed so they can deliver on their side of the partnership. Yeah. It takes a while.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mirta.
Mike, Pani.
The next one is Desak Nyoman, please. And put Ira Astrini also inside. Desak. Barka.
Belum open video sama mic, Pak. Jadi nggak bisa.
Bacain aja dah.
Ira Astri bisa? Okay. I read. Maybe Dr. Nico will have some questions. Is the father of the patient safety in Indonesia.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Dr. Crowley. Excellent presentation. To make an optimal co-production, I think patient engagement, usually we use the Professor Judith Hibbert PAM, patient activation measurement. It's a very good tools about that. Do you have comment on the tools or do you use another tools? Thank you.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your role. That's a very challenging role that you have in charge of patient safety. I had that responsibility for about maybe 8 years. It's a really important role. So well done for taking that responsibility. In terms of patient activation tools and measurement tools, yeah. To be honest with you, you're ahead of us. We are not using those tools yet. What we do is we have all these surveys of patients. So in those surveys, we ask, have they been properly informed? Are they? But that's something I'll take away, because every time you talk with a group from another country, you learn so many things. And that's one thing I've learned today now from you, that's maybe something that we need to be using as well. We need to be using those tools more. And I think they've been used by individuals, but they're not used systematically. So I take that learning from you, Dr. Nico.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Crowley. I urge hospitals to use the tools when they first meet the patient and measure it. In level 1, I say that in the next days, you must raise the level to the level 4. Now,
Right.
the second one is about culture. A co-production with the patient, let's say in Asian culture, they are shy, not talkative, that etc. Different in Western culture. What do you think about culture in co-production, culture of the patients?
Well, that's an extremely intelligent question again as well. And you know, Dr. Nico, for me, everything we do, all the care we provide, is fundamentally affected by the culture of the environment in which we deliver it in. So, and I know you agree with that, just from hearing you talk. So, for example, if we like just before I get to the patient culture, if you look at the team culture, if the team culture is one where people are afraid to speak up, or they, people don't listen to each other, or people don't respect each other, then that's a team that will not deliver good care. I don't want to be, as a patient, I don't want to be looked after by a team whose culture is not positive, doesn't have kindness in it, doesn't look after each other, and doesn't work together as a proper team. So coming then down to the patient culture, what you describe is interesting. It is culturally different in different countries, but I think common to all countries, patients are a bit shy about saying, giving their view about something technical like healthcare, because they feel they don't know anything about it. So I think that what that means is that in Ireland as well, we need and we have developed tools and information and education programs to try to encourage service users and patients to become more confident in and to understand that I think if we start to tell them that we respect what they say and we really want to hear what they say because it's important, then I think they start to develop more confidence, and they may tell us, look, the treatment you're giving me doesn't agree with me. I don't feel well with it. I'm not taking it. Therefore, my blood pressure is up in the sky, or whatever the condition that they have is deteriorating. But they mightn't have told us that because they were shy, and that often happens in Ireland too. So I think that does require work, both with individuals but also with groups of patients, to help educate them about their role and to make them understand that we really do care what they think. We really do care about what they have to say. And then maybe with time, it will take time. You don't change culture, as you know, Dr. Nico, better than me. You don't change culture overnight. That will take time.
Thank you. The last one, Dr. Hani.
Yeah, okay.
Talking about culture, I'm now start to think that we must create or make definition of PCC culture. Now, I link to the indicator. I think the 5 indicator to measure PC is one is the effective communication. The second is engagement empowerment. The third one is empathy care, what matters to you. The fourth one is quality of education, giving information so the literacy of the patient is raising. And the last one is engagement of the family. I think maybe you could also start writing about what PCC culture is. Thank you.
That's really excellent. And those 6 elements are the building blocks of a different culture. And it may be a culture, Dr. Nico, that exists in many places, but it certainly in most healthcare systems, it doesn't exist everywhere. There will always be people who deliver care in a very traditional way with a culture of I know best and I'm telling you what to do and you go off and do it. I don't really care what your point of view is. That kind of culture. It still exists in Ireland, so it maybe exists in some places in Indonesia too. So what you described there are the building blocks of person-centered care, and they are the things to measure. And in our surveys, we measure those things. Do you get sufficient education? Are you dealt with empathy? We talk about kindness and empathy sometimes, and people think we're being a bit unclear or not serious about what we're talking about. But what people don't understand, and Dr. Nico, I know you do, but some people don't understand is that delivering care with empathy and kindness is way more effective and delivers much better outcomes. And there's a clear evidence base for that. There's clear evidence to show that if we really listen to people, care about them, and demonstrate that to them, then they will be far more likely to have a good outcome as a result of their interaction with us. And there's all kinds of things that are better managed in empathetic healthcare systems than in non-empathic healthcare systems. Yeah. So I'm really glad you raised that, because it's really, really important.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Roy.
Thank you, Dr. Nico. We have some foreigners joining here from Turkey and other places. Maybe Kamil Polat, will you read your questions yourself? Please open your video. Open your video so you can read your questions. So, dear friends, please open your video if you want to ask, because we cannot put you in the screen if you're not if your video is not on. Kamil Kolat from Turkey. She is from here. Kamil, how are you?
Thank you for your valuable presentation. As TUSCA, we fully support the principle of person-centered care. Okay. We would like to ask what is the key insight from PCC that must change the way you work?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like to say ISCO ran their conference in Turkey 2 years ago, and it was beautiful. Istanbul was fantastic, and it was lovely to be in Turkey and meet so many lovely people from Turkey. So very nice to see you today. Your question is how are we developing PCC in Ireland? Is it I mean, basically, as I was saying earlier, it's taken a long time to really embed patients and service users and families and communities in the decision making that we make decisions about our health service. It's taken a long time. We now have a health service with where the national team is managed by a board of people, individuals from the community, and they manage the health service. So that it makes it more democratic. It means that decisions we make are challenged. So we may make a decision we think is a really great decision, but then the board may see some aspect of the impact of that decision that is not good, is not positive. So they will then say, you need to make a different decision. So we have embedded now, I think, but that patients and service users and people from the community in our decision-making structures at all different levels. But having said all of that, I would be dishonest not to admit that in Ireland still we make many decisions that are maybe not always good decisions and that don't always take into account the view of the people using our services. So that's why we continue to do this work, because we continue to want to spread it to every part of our health service. And now that we have new regional structures, we've divided our health service into 6 regions. We need to really embed it in those 6 regions. So we're doing a lot of work to do that. And so we need to, the work never ends. It's continuous. Never ends.
Yes, thank you. Any more questions, Camille?
On behalf of TUSCA, I warmly greet you all. In Turkey, patient-centered care is a core element of quality and patient safety, and it is embedded in our accreditation standard. We thank CARS, PPC, and ASCOA for this valuable webinar.
It's interesting, Camille. Just you mentioned kind of patient safety and person-centered care, because there's a lot of evidence specifically around patient safety, isn't there? I mean, we had an incident in Ireland, a very, very tragic incident, where they operated on the wrong side of a child. They marked the wrong side of the child, and they took out the wrong part of the body, essentially. And the family were there, kind of, and weren't listened to. And the family would have stopped them doing that. Listen to the family. So it's just a further example of why, it is central to safety as well as quality. It's not just delivering better care, but it's delivering safer care as well. We need to listen to patients, because they know as a result of that, now we have a whole system of ensuring right side surgery that is really comprehensive and very much safer as a result of the patient's own point of view being listened to finally. It wasn't listened to originally, though. So we were all on a journey to make things better.
We consider patient and family involvement a key component of quality and patient safety, and we strongly support family-centered care.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing, it's funny, we talk in Ireland a lot about involving patients, service users, because sometimes service users don't feel like they're patients, they're just using a service, and then their families. But I also really have strong belief in involving the communities that we deliver services in, because the communities are organized, they have a committee, and they can be quite powerful, and they can play quite a powerful role in ensuring the services we deliver in that community meet the needs of that community, because they know things about the community that we don't. So I'm a strong believer, particularly from my time working in Nicaragua and Central America, where I worked a lot with communities, and in England as well, where I really believe the power of the community to influence what we do is very important also.
Okay, thank you, Camille. Send my regards to my friends in Turkey. Maybe next time we go to Turkey, or you go to Bali, to Indonesia, yeah? Okay. Have I asked the question from Ms. Desak already? Yeah? About the change of behavior. Dr. Philip, thank you for interesting presentation. You said that implementing the best of PCC by change of behavior. Can you tell us what's the example of that kind? What kind of behavior is proper for PCC, especially for nurses?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Please.
So I'll answer that question first then. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's the difference, isn't it, between, say, I'm a doctor, I'm a family doctor, a patient coming in to see me, and I say, your blood test shows you have this condition, this is the medication you need, take it once a day in the morning, and we'll repeat the blood test in 6 months' time, goodbye. So that would be one type of consultation. And that's a particular transactional behavior where there's a say a high cholesterol level, and I prescribe a statin, and I send them off, and I solve that problem. What I don't do the different behavior would be, how are they feeling? Do they understand that high cholesterol can be harmful? So that will in turn engender in the patient a commitment to taking the medication, which might have some side effects, and they mightn't want to take it. So if they don't understand why they're taking it, why would they take it? So it really means listening to the patient, asking how they're feeling, and what they understand. And what they understand about the illness as well. So I think that's the real difference, is listening rather than just talking. I would say that's the behavioral difference. And in listening to somebody, we obviously then understand them better, and then we can deliver care that's better aligned to what they need.
Yes, thank you.
They understand what we're doing as well.
Yes. There's another question from Ira Astrini Silalahi. Hello, Dr. Philip. Nice to hear with your insight tonight. I just want to know, what's the biggest insight you gained from PCC that changed the way you work? And based on your experience, what's the most significant changes happening in our industry right now?
Right. Well, I mean, first question being the impact of patients. Well, and change. What I found was because we have because I always insisted there were two patient representatives on our board on my own team. So my team is made up of the people who deliver the services I'm responsible for, but I've involved two patients representatives to be partners on that team. So first of all, I've got to know them much better, and they have changed. They've changed so many things that we've done all the time. They ask a question. It makes us think again about whether we're doing the right thing in a particular way. There's no specific example. There's hundreds of examples. But one of the things they have influenced is, and I've used the fact that they are on my team to influence other people to do the same thing, to really listen to patients. So I think that's an important impact that they've had with me. The other question then was, I can't remember the other question. Whenever I go into one question, I forget the other one. There's two questions, wasn't there?
Yeah. And based on your experience, what's the most significant change happening in our industry right now?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Well, obviously, I would say the biggest threat and opportunity is artificial intelligence. I would say that it is the potential for having positive and negative impacts. We need to be intelligent with how we engage with artificial intelligence. We need to question what we learn from artificial intelligence because it's in its infancy as well, and it's not so well developed that it comes up with the right answers all the time. That's for certain. But I do think that technology generally, artificial intelligence is the kind of the hard end of it. But technology generally is changing how we deliver care. New medications, certainly I find in Ireland, I don't know if you find this in Indonesia, I was a member of our new medication group, national medication group, that considered each new medication and decided whether we could afford to fund it for our public patients. And I don't know what you find, but we certainly found that new medications cost a fortune. They are so expensive, some of the new medications. So we've had to develop a very good, robust system to make sure that the evidence being presented for the medication is sufficiently strong to justify the huge expense of funding it for our patients. And that's a big thing changed, that the rate of new medicines, new technologies, it's hard to keep up with them all. So we need experts within our team who specifically focus on technology, and we need experts on our team who specifically focus on new medication, so they can inform us as to whether this medication is really as good as they say it is and is really worth it or not.
Yes, thank you. We have 3 more questions. So many questions for you because your English is very clear. So many people
I hope so. I hope so.
From Anindita Basuki, dear Dr. Philip, I'm working in a government hospital where 90% of the patients are covered by state insurance, by universal coverage. Patients often present with complicated illness that drain resources. They drain personnel, medication, and diagnosis tests. Family often hand over the responsibility of the patient recovery to the hospital, even seeming abdicating due to the high cost. How should we treat these patients?
Well, that's interesting, because that's true in our system as well. That people with multiple diseases present complicated problems, and sometimes we have a situation where a patient is fit for discharge from the hospital, and we need to discharge them because we need the bed for a person who's sick down in the emergency department, and the family won't take them home because they don't feel. So sometimes this relationship of partnership with patients is two-way. So there's times when we have to discuss with the family the pressing needs of the other patients down in the emergency department who can't get a bed, but also reassure them about the ability for the patient and the family to care for the patient when they go home, and the fact that we will not disappear, that we will remain available to them. They can telephone us or we can contact them, and they can come back and see us, and we make an arrangement for them to come back and see us. It's very difficult when the needs are very complex. Sometimes the needs are so complex they can't go home, so they just have to stay in the hospital, and we have to work our way through the different conditions and illnesses that they have before they're fit to go home. But sometimes when we think they're ready to go home, the family doesn't think that, and we have to have that kind of just mature discussion where we support them in being more confident about taking the patient home, because it's the appropriate thing to do at that time.
Okay, thank you. There's another question from Jill Ayu Devanti. Dear Dr. Philip, how to carry out behavior change communications to support patient person-centered care through health workers? Thank you.
Well, that's a really good question. And what we're doing is we're doing it on multiple levels. On the one level, we have training and information available on the web, on our website. And we encourage our clinical leaders to encourage all their staff to undertake the training, and we measure and monitor the number of people who've undertaken the training. So that's one thing that we do. But the other thing we do is we go out into our system and we meet with clinical leaders, and we discuss the value of this with them, and we discuss with them how they can better support their staff to practice more democratic and inclusive and participatory care. And as I say, this is many years' work. This is not, it's a bit depressing to think how long it takes to get this done, but it does take a long time to get it done. And you're well on the way in Indonesia, but there will still be places where you need to, if you measure the patient experience and they say they weren't involved, then you need to go there. You can identify places through the surveys to say, well, this hospital isn't practicing person-centered care, or this unit isn't, and then you can go down and you can discuss the results, and you can give them training on the value of it, on how to do it, on the type of questions to ask the patient, so as they're more involving of the patient in the process.
Okay, thank you. There's another difficult question from Auntie Sabirina. Hello, Mr. Philip. Thank you for your insightful session. I'm Auntie from Jakarta. In a high-volume public hospital settings under universal coverage, where consultation time is very limited, the patient is so much, and administrative workflows are very complex. What practical leadership strategies can you help us realistically implement PCC without compromising efficiency and service targets? Thank you.
So really good. That gets to the nub of the problem. That's the challenge that we all face. Like so many things that are important, and like prevention of illness is another is linked to this. Preventing illness. People say, well, we're too busy to do health promotion because we're too busy delivering illness services. But the problem with what you're encountering there is people saying we're too busy to do this. But the obvious answer to that is you're too busy not to do it, because if you don't do it, the endless cycle of demand will continue. Whereas if you do it, if you find a way of carving, and it doesn't take a lot of time, the interventions can be very brief, but it's the way you interact with the patient is the difference. It will take a bit more time, but not a huge amount more time. And sometimes if you can designate one of your team to do the more interactive part of the work with the patient, then you can do the transactional bit with you need this, you need that, you need that, and then one of your team members can say, did you understand that? Do you know what you're going to do when you go home? Because if we rush patients through the whole time, they'll keep coming back, because we haven't sorted them out. They don't understand what we're doing really, because we haven't given the time to explain it, and they don't know how best to manage their medication themselves at home, or their condition, or their diet, or their exercise, or whatever it is they need to be managing, and they'll just keep banging back. So I think it's a matter of convincing people of the value of dampening down demand by increasing patients' participation in their own care, and therefore trying to encourage people to force the time in even though they're busy and they're time poor, they've no time to do this, to make some time to do this, or to designate a member of the team to do this. So, and then to measure and see the return rate of those patients. You'll notice that they return more appropriately and less frequently if they're properly informed about what you're doing and what they need to do to make it better. So there's no easy answer to that, but the obvious challenge I always say to people is, I say you may be too busy to do it, but you're too busy not to do it. And I also outline maybe some specific terms, phrases that they can use, questions they can ask that they don't normally ask, that forces them into a more listening approach to working with patients. It's not easy. It's not easy. You're on mute, Honey.
Yes, it's very not easy because short of time and short of time and to tell the patient. And the last question from Del Yun Mas Ziraluo. And hello, Dr. Philip. I would like to ask, based on Ireland experience, what practical steps can hospital in Indonesia take to strengthen the implementation of PCC?
Good question, and that's a more structural approach. So, in other words, how do we get a whole hospital, a huge organization, to take this seriously? I think you have to work with the leadership. Leadership is pivotal, it's key, and I think if you can sit down with the director of the hospital and suggest to them that this could be part of what they are known for in the hospital, what they bring to the hospital, the kind of hospital that they manage and they run, that's something they can be proud of. And if you can show an example maybe from some other hospital where they have done it well, and maybe create an interaction between the director of the hospital that does it well with the hospital that isn't currently really doing it. If you can get the leadership on board and then work, there's so many layers you need to work with. You need to work with the clinicians, so you need training for clinicians on this. And as one of your questioners earlier mentioned, the patients can be very shy, and the culture can be one where they don't want to participate because they don't feel confident. Then you need to also create educational opportunities for patients, and the most efficient way of doing that is online on the web, I guess, because it's very difficult to deliver all of these things in person. But certainly, getting the leadership on board is the most important.
Okay, then. I think we're coming to the end of the time. And with that, I would like to conclude today's webinar. Thank you for Dr. Crowley for sharing your experience on PCC in Ireland to our participants. More than 200 is coming and some from abroad. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this discussion informative and valuable. Don't forget to fill out the feedback survey, and we'll see you in future PCCI webinars. Please, before we close the session, will you open your video and make a photo with the famous Dr. Philip Crowley? Please open videonya, Barka, dilepas pinnya, so everybody can see and put the whole together. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Where's Philip? Yeah,
There.
okay.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, Philip. Yeah, okay. Make a photo. Dr. Johnny, make photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, can I thank you all very much for participating so fully, and I learned an awful lot from you, as we always do when we connect with each other. And Indonesia is a really important country, and you've fantastic representatives. And I wish you all the very best, and hopefully we will stay in touch.
Yes. Thank you, Philip.
See you in Dublin. Yeah.
See you in
Maybe
Dublin.
some of us will come to Dublin.
Yes.
from Elizabeth Hospital, St. Beatrix, coming to Dublin. Yeah, sister. Okay, next
Right.
the second layer. Make a photo, Dr. Nico. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Wait.
belum? Yang
Belum,
kedua
belum,
belum?
belum. Oke, ya tunggu dulu.
Ulang.
Belum muncul
Ya.
semua.
Okay. Yes, already.
Ya, oke.
3. Third layer. Please open your video. Leo Mary, Shirley, Stephanie.
I hope I look
Okay.
well in the photograph.
Okay.
Okay.
Next one.
The last one. This is the last layer, yes?
Ya. Nggak ada yang buka.
Ya, udah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Philip, for your tremendous time for us. Hope God bless you all, give you all the health, success, and prosperousness. Thank you very much. See you in Dublin.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Okay,
See you in
goodbye,
Dublin.
Philip.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay.